Sidar Jabari of Zhalfir has returned from his voyage across the seas of killing many men and many foe and many monsters. Hi, welcome to the video. Today I'm doing a deck tech on Sidar Jabari of Zhalfir. I'm not too sure if that's how you pronounce it, but here we go. As always, let's read what the commander does. So let's butcher it again. Sidar Jabari of Zhalfir. He is a legendary creature, a human knight. He has eminence. Whenever you attack with one or more knight, if Sidar is in the command zone or on the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Amazing. We want a deck full of knights so we can draw cards on every turn. Whenever Sidar deals combat damage to a player, return target knight creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Even better. So when you're drawing a card and you think, oh, that knight's quite expensive, I don't have enough mana, I'll discard that knight. This combat, you attack with him, do damage, bring that knight back onto the table. Wicked commander. Can't wait for this to come out. Recording this video before the actual Precon has come out because I wanted to do my own sort of Precon of the Precon. Now, before we start anything, there's 3 rules that we follow. The first rule of Nerd Club: the deck needs to be budget, anywhere between $50 and $70. It needs to be fun, and it needs to be able to win. The second rule of Nerd Club: we don't waste money. We proxy the deck first, play it a few times, realise if we need to change anything, and then once we find the deck is perfect, we then buy the cards. And rule number 3, we do not apologise, we take no mercy, and we just play to win. We play to kick their asses. We don't worry about anything. We just go in the game to win the game. First things first, let's create the deck. So we go over to Moxfield, we create a new deck, name it whatever you want to name it, put the commander in, put it to private because until the deck is how we want it, we don't want anyone seeing our masterpiece. We create the deck, hey presto, and there we have it, the commander. Then as always I try to put, I don't really like to go above 36 lands unless the commander says it needs it, so you have to sacrifice it and doing all sorts of different crazy graveyard recursions. So I just put 36, just put Swampo, I don't know what that is, 36 swamping, so we know now 37 of the cards are taken up. Now because I'm recording this before the actual Precon has come out, and because before anyone's really did any extra things on YouTube, generally what I try and do is I come to YouTube, I look at all the different decks that people have built. Don't know about this one, so we'll go into here and let's see if they've put a deck list in the description. My deck list for this deck is in the description. It's in a link for Moxfield. And let's have a look, shall we? So if you want to watch the videos, you can watch the videos. Decks, Tom, okay. Let's have a look who's got what. So it looks like Extra is the person with that. So we come onto here. I'll have a look at his deck list. I don't know if it's going to be budget like ours. Let's have a look. No, not quite. So then what we do is we look at this, so we change the view because we want to see what cards he's got. Go for view. I like to always change it to price, and then price again, and then we'll save that. Just so then we know in order what they're going down as. And hey presto, right, okay, this is the sort of creatures he has chosen. So I'm going to look at this and think, oh yeah, that's good. It's got menace, your opponents can't gain life. Awesome, only 2 mana. So what I do then is I go to here, I go copy card, come back to my deck, add it into the find, and there we go. That's now added into our deck. We'll go back, see if there's anything else. Oh, that's good. As long as your commander's in a command zone, as long as you control your commander, other creatures you control have melee. Sweet. This creature's sweet because it's in the deck already. So as long as this is in play, you may play knight cards from your graveyard, which is great because we'll be discarding cards and we'll be putting them in there. So what we do, copy card name, come back to our Mox field, and put it into here. So if you go to YouTube and do that, with a fair few of them, you start to pick out the cards that you want. Also watch other people's videos on how to play it. Then, what I do is I go to EDH Rec. This is always a good site to go to as well. So you put your commander in, then you can either go to average decks or decks. You go to decks, and then you can see what other people have done. You can either change it to cheap, which I generally do, so then it's not overly expensive decks that you're looking through. Quite a lot of them are over $100 still. So what we want to do is just pick, say, this one. Let's see what cards are in here. Okay, so we've got some good cards in here. Death Touch, Lifelink, can't go with that. Other legendary creatures you control, I've got +2/+2. Now, need to make sure that it actually fits into the deck. So if we've got loads of knights that aren't actually legendary creatures, it kind of is pretty pointless, so we wouldn't have it in there. This card's good. When it enters the battlefield, if you control another knight, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a knight aura, equipment or legendary artifact from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest at the bottom. So we might go to that. So what we do is we just plus that and say we wanted this Battle Angel, just plus that, Corpse Knight, plus that. Then you see the list up here. Oh look, I'll copy that because they're the cards I want. And then I come back to our deck list, go to bulk edit, and put them into here. We'll save it, and there we go, all added, and now we're getting our deck. Great. You'll end up with something a bit like this. So I ended up with 182 cards in the deck, which sometimes it does take a bit to sift through. First you want to get rid of obviously the doubles, because it seems like I don't remember the cards I put in, so we'll just remove one. And you want to do that for all of it. Then you want to really focus on what the commander does. Now for me, the second part of whenever it deals combat damage to a player, return a knight creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. That for me is very crucial. So obviously I want to bring knights out so then I can draw a card and discard a card, so I can put the knights in the graveyard. But they're actually getting the damage through is the main key part for this commander for me. So I went down the route of getting equipments and auras to help make the creature unblockable so I can get that damage through. So this is the deck, so 100 in total. Obviously the deck lists are in the description below if you really wanted to have a good look, if you wanted to try them out. So I ended up with 32 creatures. Awesome new card that's coming out in the Precon. Herald of Hoofbeats. It's got horsemanship, so other knights you control have horsemanship. Horsemanship is basically if you can only get blocked by other creatures with horsemanship, which is awesome. We'll go to enable tags. When you're creating your decks, you want to try to put them into tags, so then every time that you use them cards are in it, because it makes it so much easier to think of what you got. So for certain decks you want a certain amount of ramp, draw, you want a certain amount of removal, like win cons, and if you tag them, it gets them all in the right place and you know how many you've got of each. So for this, for board wipes and removal, there's 6, which isn't a great deal, but it was enough because you've got creatures like the Aethersworn Adjudicator. So basically you pay 3, destroys target creature or enchantment. So it didn't need to be too many. Then you've also got this one as well. You pay a swamp, you tap X untap knights you control, destroy target creature with X power or less. So it kind of like you could keep doing it each turn, so it didn't need too many. Then I've got counter spells. I always try to use roughly the same counter spells in my decks, because they're cheaper, and I'm trying to keep the deck's budget, so I'm trying to get the best counter spells I can think of that for the money. And we want to keep, so the reason we've got about 5 is because we want to keep the commander out. The commander, in my opinion, is going to be our win con, our main win con, so we want to keep the commander out. Got ways to create tokens. I always like this part. Getting out loads of different creatures. Obviously, if you wanted to do that, you can end up getting a nice 8 2/2 black zombie knight creature tokens with menace. Awesome. You can end up with a board state really fast, so you can end up with 8 knights, 9 knights in total, all attacking in one go. Awesome. Let's see, we've got 32 creatures, all with different abilities. Bit of discard. Didn't get too much discard because obviously the commander does do it itself, so we don't need to do it too much. But the key to this, so you basically discard a card, up to 1 target creature can't be blocked, so it's got 2. You get to discard a knight from your hand to put it into your graveyard. Then your commander gets unblockable, so you attack, you bring that knight straight out the graveyard back onto the battlefield. Awesome. There's 9 draws, so there weren't too many. You've got Distant Melody. Basically, it's just going to be a way to draw absolutely tons of cards because they're all knights. So obviously, you choose a creature type, obviously knights, draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. You could end up drawing like good 10 cards, which then you could get your win cons. Then whenever a creature you control deals damage to a player, you may draw a card. Well, your commander is going to be doing damage every single turn. Not just that, when you get that horsemanship on all your knights, you'll be able to draw a boat ton of cards. This card's good. It may be not a knight, River Kelpie, but it says whenever River Kelpie or another permanent enters the battlefield from your graveyard, draw a card. Well, you're going to be drawing knights from your graveyard all the time. And it says whenever a player casts a spell from a graveyard, draw a card. So not just that, so with that you could also be drawing 2 cards every turn, because you'll have your commander doing the damage, so then you bring out a knight, which then will get you to draw a card. And then also if you've got this knight on the battlefield, as long as Hakon is in play, you may play knight cards from your graveyard. So if you play a knight from there as well, you can end up drawing 2 cards every turn, obviously if you've got the knights in your graveyard. Good little card to have in your deck. Then we've got equipments. So as I've said, you want to make sure your commander is unblockable, so it's doing damage. So we've got a couple of cards in here. Unblockable. Enchanted creature gains phasing and cannot be blocked except by walls. So it's blocked, and then it phases out at the end of your turn, and then phases back in at the upkeep. So people can't even destroy your commander when it's on the battlefield. This is a great one. It gives it infect. If you can get 10 counters on the infect, which isn't hard to do in this deck, you can end up killing someone in one foul swoop. Now we've got Graveyard Recursion. So just in case your commander does end up having to get put back into the command zone, you've got other ways to bring them back, like Tortured Existence. You just have to pay 1 swamp, you discard a card, so you discard the knight that's in your hand, put it into your graveyard, and then you can return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. So you think, you know what, I want that knight that's in the graveyard, bring it back to your hand, and then you can play it. This here, you sacrifice it, and it returns all knight creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So if you've ended up, someone's giving you a board wipe, and then you pay 8 mana, and you can bring all your knights back in one go. And we've got a bit of life gain just in case we're getting a bit low. Always have a bit of search, so just looking at the top of your library. Yeah, looking at the top of your library. Enters the battlefield, you search the library for a legendary card. Always good. And then this is whenever it attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put an aura or equipment card from among them onto the battlefield. If it's equipment, put it onto the battlefield this way. You may attach it to the creature you control. Put the rest of those cards on the bottom. You're like, well, we want them equipment and auras to go onto the battlefield to attach to our creature, our commander, straight away. So that is a perfect little knight that attacks and gets us the equipment we need. Just sieving through the deck. Good little card. Bit of life loss. That's for losing the opponent some life. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses one life. So you could end up bringing quite a few creatures in, which just gives them that little bit of damage each time. Same as this one, but this one's even better. Whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put from your graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, it does 1 damage. So it can end up doing 3 damage in one go. So if a creature dies, and then it's put into your graveyard, so there's 1 damage. And then, or if the creature is from anywhere except the battlefield, so you discard it, so put it into the battlefield, and then if it gets brought back in, there's another one. So 3 damage. Great card. I really enjoyed making this deck. I also got a few mana rocks because we want to get our creatures out. Bit of protection, try to keep our commander on the board as much as possible. Especially this one. Knight Exemplar is great. Other knights you control get +1/+1 and have indestructible. Awesome. This one here helps, because whenever the Wintermoor commander attacks, another knight you control gains indestructible turn to turn. Okay, so then we want to go down to win cons. So the first win con is obviously the commander, as I've said. You want to try and get some of these auras on it, or equipments. So the auras basically give it so it can't be blocked. What you want to do is put this Black Blade Forge onto it. So a quick creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control, or you want to put this Stoneforge Masterwork on it. A quick creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it. Well, it's full of knights, so if you've got 5 or 6 knights on the board, it gives it +6/+6. Then you want to choose the things that give it unblockable, so like things like this. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. It conveys, obviously we're not bothered about, more bothered about it not being blocked. So you can just swing for commander damage. You've got all this damage and just swing and swing and swing, just get commander damage. But if you want to be horrible to people, like horrible, you've got all them on it, you think, you know what I'm going to do is put this on it. This Phrasis, I think it's called, Phrasis. Enchanted creature. Enchanted creature has Infect. So not only is the creature unblockable, it is it's got +6/+6, so it's now a 10/10. From, say, if you've got this and you've got 6 lands, it's now a 10/10. All you've got to do is swing at someone once, and they're dead. It's just brutal. I love this card in the deck. It just gives it that little bit of flavour, just to say to people, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to take no mercy. Rule number 3, no mercy, no apologies. I'm there to win and destroy the other person. So that's it. That's how I've built the deck. So once you've done this, the next stage is we go to look to see if there's any combos. So we go to bulk edit. We basically just select all, copy. Then we come over to command spellbook. You put the full deck list on in the combos, then you find out what combos are in the deck. Now this is where I actually got the idea for this, because this is another way that you could win, which isn't on that, but it's just there as a little backup if you needed to. So I've got all permanents in here. You're basically giving people, all 3 players in one go, poison counters. So you activate the Tortured Existence by paying that and discarding the creature card. You put the creature card into your graveyard. So the creature card is then put into your graveyard, triggering the Side Conrad, causing it to deal 1 infect damage to each opponent. And then you resolve the Tortured Existence, returning a creature card from your graveyard. You put it into your hand. Then the creature leaves the graveyard, triggering Side Conrad again, dealing another 1 damage infect to all the opponents. And then the creature you just take him back. You know what? I'm going to play 1 swamp, and then you put that creature back in the graveyard, dealing 1 poison counter to everyone. It is brutal. It kills all 3 of them in a few turns. It is just great. I just love it. I'm taking no mercy. Once you have got all the combos and you have designed your deck and you've got the 100 cards, what's rule number 2? you print the proxies off first and play the deck. Why do we want to waste money? There's been loads of times I've bought cards, played a run for. This is not good. If anything, I've wasted my money again. So then I've realised proxies are just amazing. You go to, this is I'd say the best one I've found, MTG Print. You put all of the cards in the list. You press add cards. Yeah, well, what it does is it likes to be a bit funny. Put this in there. This in there. This in there. I'll add them. Herald of... Oh, that's why, because that's a new card. I don't think... They're new cards, so you can't actually put them in it just yet until they actually come out. So we'll just delete them off. But you've got the other 98 here. If you want to change the printing or the pictures, which I generally do if it's... Let me see if they've got one like this. I don't like this sort of printing, so I click on it, change the picture, especially when I'm printing myself. I don't want it all dark and anything, I want to be able to read it. And then, hey presto, that's it. You've got all these cards. And then you come up to the download. Have the lines and whatever else you want to do on it. Download it, print it off. Then you put it into your sleeves. You want to make sure that you got the magic cards in the back of them that you don't use. And then you put the paper over it because you'll be able to shuffle a lot better. And then they're actually like proper cards then. Hey presto, there's another deck tech. Don't forget to play the game to win. That is rule number 3. We take no mercy. When you proxy the cards, make sure that whoever you're playing, you tell them that you're playing proxies, because some people don't like you playing them. But generally it's okay if you just tell them that you are just testing the deck out. There we go. That is my precon of the precon. I hope you've enjoyed it. The deck list is in the description below. Now, if you want to support the channel, there is a link for my Patreon in the description as well. It really does help the channel out if you can, help support me to make more content like this. If you want more deck techs, then watch this video next.